You ever have that one teacher who makes you question why they even became a teacher? Yeah. Mine wasn't just strict. She was cruel in a quiet, polite way. The kind of person who smiled while cutting you down. And when she decided my name was too inconvenient for her to say, I made sure she'd never forget it again. Hey guys, welcome back to Extra Revenge, where every story proves karma has perfect timing. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like if you've ever been underestimated, and let's dive right in. I was 11 when it happened, that weird, insecure age where you're still figuring out who you are, but already expected to act like you've got it all together. New school year, new uniforms, same anxiety. My parents had just transferred me to this private school. They thought smaller classes would mean better focus, better opportunities. They weren't wrong, the place was good, but not everyone there was. My name's Kauai. It's Hawaiian, pronounced Kauai. People mess it up all the time, but I never mind correcting them. It's part of who I am. It's my grandma's name, actually. She used to tell me stories about our family in Oahu, about how our ancestors would greet the sunrise with chants and songs, always saying names with care, because in our culture, a name isn't just a label, it's a prayer. So yeah, my name mattered to me. The first day, I sat near the window, fidgeting with my pencil, watching other kids whisper and laugh. I was nervous, sure, but hopeful. That's when she walked in, Ms. White. The room went quiet like someone had hit pause. She wasn't tall, but she carried herself like she ruled the place. Tight bun, cold eyes, no nonsense. The kind of teacher you just knew wasn't there to make friends. She set down her coffee, opened her attendance book, and started calling names. Her tone was sharp, precise. Every name was clipped, mechanical. Andrew, here. Jasmine, present. Then came the pause. Her brow furrowed. K-O-O? I smiled a little. Happens all the time. I raised my hand. It's Kauai. Like Kauai, I said politely. She blinked once, then said flat as stone. Right? I'll call you Katherine. The class chuckled. I thought maybe it was a joke, so I laughed too. But then she marked something down in her attendance sheet, looked up again and said, Okay, Katherine, welcome to class. That laughter burned in my ears. Katherine, that wasn't my name. Not even close. I sat there frozen for a few seconds, unsure if I should correct her again. But the way she looked at me, that cold, dismissive stare, told me it wouldn't matter. So I didn't say anything. I just sat there, feeling this weird mix of confusion and embarrassment wash over me. It wasn't the first time someone got my name wrong, but it was the first time someone refused to even try. A few days passed. Every time she called on me, Katherine, come solve this. Katherine, sit down. That name stung more. I'd tell her quietly, it's Kauai, and she'd just wave her hand, like I was being difficult. Let's not make things complicated, Katherine. Complicated? My name was 3 syllables. Hers was White. Simple, sure, but empty. There's no warmth in a name like that. I remember going home one afternoon and telling my mom what happened. She froze mid-dinner prep, spatula in hand. She called you what? Katherine, I muttered. Said my name was too hard. My dad frowned. Did you tell her how to say it? Yeah. She didn't care. They both looked angry, but what could they do? My mom said she'd talk to the school if it continued. But I didn't want that. I didn't want to be that kid, the one whose parents came to complain. I wanted to fix it myself. By the second week, it wasn't just annoying anymore. It was personal. Every Katherine felt like she was erasing a part of me, like she was deciding who I got to be in her classroom. So one morning, I decided if she could rename me without asking, I could return the favor. That day, when she walked in, I said loud enough for the front row to hear, Morning, Jessica. Her head snapped toward me, like a hawk spotting movement. What did you say? She asked, her tone sharp. Morning, Jessica. I repeated, keeping my voice calm. The room went dead silent. You could feel the other student's eyes darting between us. Her face tightened. That's Ms. White to you. Oh, sorry, I said, pretending to look confused. I just thought if you can rename me, We could keep things casual, you know? She didn't respond, just stared at me for a few seconds, jaw locked, before moving on. But I saw it. That little twitch in her eye, that flicker of irritation she couldn't hide. And I knew right then, I found my revenge. For the next few weeks, I made it a point to call her something new every chance I got. Jessica, can you help me with number 3? Jess, can I turn in my homework later? Or, my personal favorite, hey, JJ, great lesson today. Each time she'd correct me, calmly at first, then with this strained smile that looked like it hurt to hold. It's Ms. White, right? Sorry, Jessie. The class loved it. Some kids even started snickering every time I did it. She couldn't yell. She wasn't that kind of teacher. She cared too much about her image, about looking composed and professional. So instead, she just swallowed it, and I could see her patience thinning like ice in spring. But here's the funny thing about quiet revenge. It doesn't just make you feel powerful. It teaches you patience. Because after a while, I realized it wasn't just about the name anymore. It was about the principle. She wanted control. She wanted everyone to know she decided how things went in her class, even down to what you were called. And every time I said, Jessica, I reminded her that control wasn't absolute, that respect wasn't a one-way street. Then came the moment that changed everything. One morning, she was going over equations on the board. Her back was turned, chalk squeaking across the black surface. She asked a question, something about linear functions. Katherine, what's the answer to this one? I didn't respond. She called again. Katherine, silence. Finally, she turned around, annoyed. Katherine. I looked up and said calmly, who's Katherine? You could have heard a pin drop. Her face went pale. You know what I mean, she said tightly. No, I said, shaking my head. My name's Kauai. You said Katherine doesn't exist here. Remember? A few giggles broke out. Someone muttered, oh damn. She set the chalk down, trying to collect herself. I don't appreciate this attitude, young man. And I don't appreciate being renamed, I said quietly. Feels disrespectful. For a second, she didn't know what to say. Then she did what she always did. Pretended like it didn't matter. Sit down. We're moving on. But I saw the shift. Something in her eyes changed that day. She didn't call me Katherine after that. She just avoided using my name altogether. I thought maybe she'd finally learned something, but she didn't. That's when I realized some people don't change because they don't think they need to. So yeah, maybe my revenge wasn't huge. It wasn't loud, but it was steady. And every Jessica I dropped in class was my way of reminding her, respect goes both ways. After that day, Ms. White never said my name again. Not once. For the rest of the semester, I was you, him, or the boy in the third row. It was weirdly satisfying at first, like I'd broken something in her. A rule, a wall, a habit she couldn't rebuild. But after a few weeks, it just felt empty. The thing about winning is sometimes when the fight ends, you don't feel victory, you feel silence. And that silence was heavy. I kept my grades up, tried to stay out of trouble. But every time she looked past me in class, I felt that invisible sting. Like she'd rather pretend I didn't exist than say my name right. Then came the incident. It was a Thursday morning in November. The air smelled like rain, and everyone was half asleep. She was collecting essays we'd written about identity and respect. Oh, the irony. I'd written mine from the heart, about names, culture, and how disrespect can hide behind politeness. When she reached my desk, she looked at the title and frowned. Kauai, a name that means light. Interesting, she said flatly. Then, almost under her breath, if you say so, I clenched my jaw. It's not about what I say, ma'am. It's about what's true. She looked up sharply. Watch your tone. I said, keeping my voice even. Are you watching yours? A few students gasped quietly. The room froze. She just stood there, face tight, hand gripping my essay like she might tear it in half. Then she turned and walked back to her desk without a word. But that wasn't the end of it. Later that day, the principal called me into his office. Ms. White was there, sitting upright, hands folded neatly, that same cold calmness on her face. He sighed. "Cow-eye, Ms. White says you've been disrespectful in class." Repeatedly. I looked at her, then back at him. "With all due respect, sir, she's been calling me by the wrong name since August." She spoke softly. "His name is difficult to pronounce. I meant no harm." "Then why not learn it?" I asked, trying not to raise my voice. "It's 3 syllables. She renamed me, sir, in front of everyone, every single day." The principal frowned. "Is that true?" She smiled, that polite, professional smile. "I simply tried to make things easier for the class." I didn't realize it upset him this much. That word, upset, hit me like a slap, like my feelings were some childish overreaction instead of a wound. I took a deep breath. "Sir, you can check my essays, my work, my behavior before this semester. I've never disrespected a teacher." But she crossed a line. The principal looked conflicted. He said he'd review the situation and asked me to go. For a while, nothing happened. She stopped making comments, stopped calling names altogether. Class became quiet, robotic, distant. But I noticed something new. Other students started coming to me after class. Not to gossip, but to thank me. A girl named Jasmine said, "You know, she used to call me Jay, because she didn't want to say Jasmine. It's not even hard." Another kid said, "She told my mom my last name was too foreign." It hit me then, it wasn't just me. I was just the first one who pushed back. And slowly, something started to shift. Students began calling her Jessica behind her back. Jokingly at first, then regularly. She'd glare every time she overheard it. But what could she do? You can't force respect when you've lost the right to ask for it. By December, word got around. Parents started asking questions. Someone told the counselor. And the counselor, bless her heart, didn't ignore it. She asked for written statements, anonymous if we wanted. I wrote mine honestly, not out of anger, just truth. I told them how it felt to be renamed, like my identity was optional. How it made me question whether my background made me inconvenient, and how I refused to let anyone erase that. After winter break, Ms. White didn't come back. They said she took an early retirement, but everyone knew what that meant. I thought that would be the end of it, but life has this weird way of looping back when you least expect it. Years later, I was 27, working as a graphic designer in a small studio downtown. One afternoon, I stopped by a coffee shop near my office, and there she was, sitting alone at a corner table, reading a paperback, older now, gray streaks in her hair, glasses slipping down her nose. For a second, I froze. All those memories came rushing back. The laughter, the humiliation, the anger. I could have ignored her, walked right out. But something in me wanted closure. So I ordered my drink, then walked over. "Excuse me," I said softly. She looked up. Her eyes narrowed in confusion for a moment. Then recognition flickered. "Cow-eye?" I smiled. "So you do remember my name?" She blinked, looking embarrassed. "Of course. I remember." For a moment, neither of us said anything. The air between us was heavy, awkward, filled with years of unspoken things. Then she said quietly, "You made quite an impression on me back then." I raised an eyebrow. "Did I?" She nodded slowly. "I realized I wasn't fair to you, or to others, maybe. I thought I was being practical, but I was just being dismissive. I shouldn't have done that." I didn't know what to say. I'd imagined this moment so many times. Yelling at her, walking away triumphant. But none of those versions felt right now. I just said, "People's names matter. You taught me that, even if you didn't mean to." She nodded again, eyes glassy. "I know. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry." I smiled faintly. "I accept that." Then, just before walking away, I said, "Take care, Jessica." She let out a tiny laugh, the first real one I'd ever heard from her. "I suppose I deserved that." "Yeah," I said softly. "We both learned something. If someone ever tries to change who you are, remind them that your name, your story, and your worth don't belong to anyone else. Thanks for watching Extra Revenge. If this story hit home, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to remember their voice.